Chapter 71 Tiffany and Joanna at the boutique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Were you perhaps pretending that you wanted to publicly avenge all her sufferings? Of course not, Your Majesty. Chris was too interested in defending himself and didn't pay attention to the road. He was about to drive into a big tree had Caden not stretched and grabbed the steering, diverting the course of the car. I am sorry, Your Majesty, Chris apologized with his head slightly bowed. If you cared about her sufferings like you wanted me to believe, then you will turn a blind eye to the Queen's ghost story, Caden said sternly, not pursuing the near-accident case. Since her ghost has decided to take revenge, then let it take revenge as much as it wants. Also, isn't it funny seeing everyone tremble at the sight of the girl they trampled under feet in the past? Caden's lips curled into a sly smile as he talked. If you are not having fun seeing them this way, then I do. In fact, it would be better if she drove them crazier than she has already done. Caden took Chris by surprise with his words. Chris had nothing more to say following the king's words, so he ignited the car and drove off. Joanna, who was pretending earlier that she didn't care about Caden's absence, came out of the hut immediately after he left. She stared blankly at the spot she last saw him standing. Why did he have to leave so early? Joanna muttered with a sad expression. Now that he is gone, then how am I supposed to spend the long day ahead? Who is gonna keep me smiling and angry at the same time for the entire day? Joanna subconsciously smiled when she recalled the memories of her time with Caden in the forest. The instant she returned, he was right at the cliff to welcome her. He has made her smile and angry so many times. There were times she even pretended that she didn't like his company. He has been nothing but extremely good to her. Within these short periods, he has made her feel all sorts of emotions. Even some emotions she has never felt before in her entire life. If she was asked to list some of the happiest memories of her life, the past days she has spent with him would have undoubtedly been included in that list. I guess I have no other choice than to enter the kingdom to find things to break my boredom. Joanna grinned evilly as she turned and went back to the hut. When she came out of the hut, she was wearing a black hoodie and a face cap. I am good to go now, Joanna muttered as she disappeared immediately. Joanna roamed about the streets looking for something interesting that might catch her interest. She was about to cross the road when from where she stood she saw a familiar car pulling into a boutique. I was looking for what to do, and she brought herself to me on a platter of gold. Should I perhaps thank her for this? Joanna smirked as she stared at the lady who had just come out of the car and walked into the boutique. Some minutes later, a girl in a black hoodie approached the entrance of the boutique. Unlike other customers who were let into the boutique, she was blocked by the security guard for some unknown reason. Sorry, but you are not allowed into the boutique, the security guard in black suits said as respectfully as he could. It was after she was stopped from entering the boutique that Joanna recalled one of the policies of the boutique. People of the lower class were not allowed into the boutique. Only the elites of the elite were let in. Joanna lowered her gaze and stared at what she was wearing. At the moment she was wearing blue ripped jeans, a pair of blue sneakers and a black hoodie. She didn't need anyone to tell her why she was not allowed into the boutique. You won't let me in even though I have this? Joanna asked as she showed the security guard the black card she removed from her trousers pocket. The security guard was shocked at the sight of the limitless black card. He apologized repeatedly to Joanna to show how sincerely sorry he was. It's okay. Mistakes can be made. Besides, it was my fault for dressing shabbily, Joanna said, smiling as she walked gracefully into the boutique. His black card sure came handy when I needed it the most. Joanna beamed on recalling the day Caden shoved his black card into her hand and refused to collect it back no matter how hard she tried. Joanna was following Tiffany, looking for the perfect opportunity to strike when she saw Audrey approaching their direction. Joanna looked away in a flash to avoid being seen by Audrey. What the hell is she doing here? Joanna gritted her teeth. She turned her back on her and pretended as though she was checking out the green dress in front of her. Wow, look at who is here. I never knew that swans wear designers. Tiffany said sarcastically when Audrey reached where she stood. Swans don't wear clothes, not to mention wearing designers. How come you are too dumb to know such simple facts? Audrey snapped, not backing down. You. Tiffany lowered her raised index finger and also paused what she wanted to say when she realized that people were staring at her. I won't blame you since it is very obvious that you are still mourning over your dead loser friend, Tiffany said loudly for others to hear. It's true that I am still mourning her, but I will advise that you be careful of how you call her name in case you get visited by her ghost. Woohaha. Audrey demonstrated what she meant, making Tiffany jerk backwards in fear. Relax, I was just kidding, but I will advise that you still be careful. Who knows, her ghost might be hovering around you right now. Audrey grinned evilly before she resumed walking. She walked past the girl in a hoodie without sparing her a glance. Tiffany was still terrified 2 minutes after Audrey left. I am sure she was only saying that to get back at me for getting on her nerves. The scared Tiffany tried to reassure herself that everything was fine. Madam, do you still want me to package the dress? The sales representative in a white long-sleeve shirt asked politely. I will try it out first, Tiffany replied. She collected the white dress from the lady's hands and proceeded to the changing room. Since Dre has given me the go-ahead, why don't I do as she said? I can already tell that it will be fun seeing her dashed out of the boutique like a crazy person. Joanna's smile grew creepy as she stared at the lady who was now far away from where she stood. She also proceeded to the changing room after picking a pink dress. In the dressing room, Tiffany was happily changing her dress when suddenly she felt as if someone was standing behind her. Raising her gaze to stare at the mirror, she saw the same figure they saw at the villa. Ghost Arg, Tiffany yelled instantly, taking to her heels. On sighting Tiffany running, other customers who didn't know what happened took to their heels on hearing her scream the word ghost. Ha ha ha. Have I been too hard on them? That is why everyone is acting this way. Joanna laughed, seeing how everyone was running out of the boutique. Seeing how terrified they are at the hearing of my name, I guess I have realized my wish of becoming their greatest nightmare. Joanna smiled broadly. Amid the commotion, she exited the boutique. Chapter 72. Why is it you? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. What Joanna didn't know was that Audrey was still at the boutique's premises when Tiffany and the others ran out of the boutique crying about ghosts. Unlike others who were afraid of Joanna's ghost, Audrey wasn't. And she proved this by walking into the boutique that none wanted to step foot into. Audrey searched every nook and cranny of the boutique searching for Joanna's ghost. It didn't matter whether she talked to the ghost or not, all she wanted was to get a glimpse of her even though it was a ghost. Do you hate me so much to the point that you wouldn't even do me the honor of seeing your ghost? Audrey, standing in front of the mirror, asked while looking into the mirror. I am sure you must blame me for not saving you. You hate me because I didn't keep my word to protect you. Is this why you won't even appear in my dream or let me get a glimpse of your ghost like the others? Tears welled up in Audrey's eyes as she stared at herself in the mirror. Am I so hateful, Anna? The tears she was suppressing fell. Too bad Joanna wasn't there, or else she would have revealed herself to her best friend in that instant because of her inability to see her friend in pain. At the palace, Caden moved from one meeting to the others. At some point, he got so bored and distracted that Chris standing by his side had to call his attention to what was being discussed. When is the darn meeting gonna be over? Caden muttered in annoyance as he stared at his wristwatch for the 25th time since the meeting began. Joanna continued roaming around the kingdom after the incident at the boutique. She walked aimlessly until she somehow found herself at her late mother's tomb. Joanna stared at the tomb, which was covered with weeds. Since she died, no one has paid money for the maintenance of the tombstone, so she wasn't surprised to see the sorry state the tombstone was in. Her mother was miserable when she was alive, and she became even more pitiful when she died. What an irony of life. Joanna bent and pulled off the weeds from the tombstone. She spent 10 minutes clearing the tombstone and the surrounding until it became presentable. Hello, how have you been? Joanna asked, her attention focused on the tombstone which had her mother's name boldly engraved on it. Unlike other tombstones which had a picture of the deceased, her mother's tombstone was missing a picture. I am sorry it took me so long to visit you. I know you won't blame me for coming just now since you are well aware of my situation, right? Joanna stared at the tombstone with mixed feelings. She has seen other people weep at their loved ones' tombstones, but she didn't feel like crying for some reason. She was still very tiny when her mother died, so she doesn't recall a thing about her. Maybe that is why the connection was missing. Maybe she would have felt sad if she had been visiting her tombstone, but unfortunately she was forbidden by Adhara from coming anywhere close to her mother's graveyard. The last time she snuck here was when she was 6 years old and Adhara learned about it. She was beaten severely and denied food for 2 days. Ever since then she hasn't come anywhere close to the graveyard. I have heard of what you went through and I kinda feel bad for you, Joanna trailed. Although I went through similar things and almost ended up dying miserably, I have been given a new chance at life. Now that I am reborn, I am no longer that weak girl everyone once knew, Joanna said with clasped fists when the memories of the last years of her life flashed before her eyes. We might be mother and daughter, but I promise that I won't end up like you. I will fight for myself and what I want. I won't let what should have been mine get taken away by others, never. Joanna said fiercely. Watch me as I go around teaching a lesson to my enemies and at the same time climbing to the top, Joanna said sternly. She took a last glance at the tombstone before she left. Since there was nothing fun to do at the kingdom, Joanna returned to the forest which had served as her home. She was going through the cabinets at the hut when she came across a familiar gift box. Why does it look so familiar? Joanna muttered as she stared at the rectangular flat gift box in her hand. Pushed by curiosity, she opened the gift box, and in the gift box was a jewel set containing a necklace, bracelet and earrings. All were made from gold and the shape of a phoenix. They are so beautiful. I never knew he had such great taste in jewels, Joanna smiled as she stared at the jewel set. In the kingdom, it's well known that only the queen can wear anything related to Phoenix. I wonder whom he bought it. Joanna paused what she wanted to say when she recalled where she saw the jewel box. Isn't this what he gave me on my 18th birthday? Joanna asked, subconsciously smiling to herself. So he was serious about the proposal, and here I thought he was kidding around. Joanna's heart softened at the thought of Caden proposing to her. Joanna was still daydreaming when suddenly the notification popped up for the second time that day. Yeah, it's true that I still have to do good deeds to win my 5 experience points, Joanna muttered, standing up from the bed. She folded the gift box and dropped it on the bed. And for this, I would rather help the helpless animals in the forest like I normally do than save people who by far don't deserve my kindness. Joanna walked out of the hut with bacon flying ahead of her. Another notification came on after she stepped foot out of the hut. Joanna frowned at the sight of this particular mission. If she had the power she would have made sure to mute the notification, but too bad she doesn't. If it's your wish to see my mood ruined, that is why you suddenly made the mission pop up, then you have failed. Because I won't give you the pleasure, Joanna muttered before she ran at an incredible speed into the dark forests. Some minutes later Joanna was seen sitting on their usual big tree trunk enjoying the beautiful sky full of twinkling stars. She lost her senses to the beauty of the sky when suddenly she felt a presence behind her. In a flash, she jumped to her feet ready to defend herself. Why is it you? Joanna asked with widened eyes as she stared at the person standing in front of her. A/N. To all the readers who have been supporting this book, I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you for your love and support. Please keep it up. Chapter 73 Let's Sleep Together. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Joanna dropped her clenched fist on realizing that it was Caden. Why is it you? Joanna asked curiously. Didn't you say you had something important to do, so why are you here? Joanna sat back down after realizing that it was safe. Although it sounded like she hated to see him there, the truth was that she was smiling within. Did you miss me so much that you can't hide your excitement to see me? Caden made Joanna roll her eyes with his conceited words. He didn't care about this but walked to sit beside her on the tree trunk. And I indeed said I had important things to do, but I never mentioned that I wasn't gonna come back. Caden smiled as he stared at her face. I can see that you are having a blast teasing and making me angry each day, and that's why you were so eager to come back and continue from where you stopped. Joanna was so excited that she failed to filter her words. Caden stared at her face. Seeing her indifferent expression hurt him. Do you really think the reason I made it a point of duty to come here every day is that annoying you brings me happiness? Caden asked. His tone and even his expression carried a hint of pain. Joanna felt like slapping her face when she realized what her words had caused. Do you think I am so crazy that I will abandon all my work every day just to spend time with you? Kay, that is not what I meant. If that is what you think, then you are wrong. I am not that crazy, neither am I so jobless, Caden said. You are the reason I am so happy and always smiling. I abandon my work in the palace daily to spend the day with you, but only to spend the entire night working is not because I am crazy but because I love you. Caden stood up from where he sat. Joanna stood up and grabbed his left hand, not letting him walk away as he wanted. I know I was wrong in saying those words, so I am sorry that I hurt you. Joanna apologized sincerely. Really? Caden asked, beaming. Joanna was surprised to see him smiling when he was very upset a moment ago. She let go of his hand when it dawned on her that he was pretending. How could you prank me like that, huh? Joanna asked as she stumped away. She didn't take up to 4 steps when someone embraced her from behind. It's true that I was hurt by your words, although not as hurt as I pretended to be, Caden said without letting go of her despite her struggling. You know how much I love you, so you shouldn't have deliberately tried to hurt me with those words. It wasn't intentional. I was only trying to tease you, but, Joanna trailed as she stopped struggling with him. Is this what they call teasing goes bad? Caden asked playfully. If you are bad at teasing, then you can learn from me. I am a very good teacher and we can even experiment some of them like this. Caden grinned wickedly as he blew hot hair on her bare neck, causing Joanna to stiffen immediately. I can assure you that your teases won't ever go bad if you learn from a great teacher like me, Caden said, smiling. Get off me, Joanna yelled, pushing him away from her immediately. She walked towards the tree trunk. I am telling the truth. I will even let you experiment on me. Isn't that a great bargain? Caden asked, following her closely. He sat down beside her and started talking again. You will never find a greater teacher and one who is willing to be your tease's experiment subject, so isn't this a good bargain? Caden kept quiet when Joanna turned and glared at him. Everywhere went quiet, with their breathing and the chirps of the birds being the only sound heard. I heard about your feat in the boutique. I heard as usual you drove everyone insane with merely your appearance, Caden said as he sneaked a peep at the lady looking at the stars. Joanna shifted her gaze to him. There was a frown on her face. Didn't I say I have nothing to do with the ghost story? So why? Okay, I will act as though you are telling the truth, but now that you have decided to reveal yourself, can you tell me what exactly you are? Caden asked in a gentle tone. Are you a werewolf now or something even more unique? Joan, I need to know what exactly you are so that I will be able to protect you very well this time around. What are you too? Joanna asked. She lifts her right hand and places it on his face. She stared into his black eyes that had started wavering following her question. I and everyone else have always known you as a vampire, so why is it that you were a werewolf that night? Joanna didn't look away from his eyes as she spoke. Your dad was a vampire and so is your mum. As such you were supposed to be a vampire, so how come you are a werewolf too? How many secrets are you hiding? Joanna stroked his face as she talked. The usual talkative and playful Caden went quiet after her questions. He looked away from her eyes, which seemed to be prying into his soul. He rejected the first intimacy she had ever initiated by pushing her hand away from his face. Instead of gazing at her face like he normally does, he looked at the sky. Isn't the sky so beautiful? He asked. He has never acted this way, so I wonder what's so hard for him to tell. Him acting this way makes me find him strange. Joanna quickly looked away from his face when he saw him turn around. Yeah, it's so beautiful, Joanna replied. It's so beautiful that it calls for spending the night with your loved one, and this brings me to say, Caden trailed, intentionally arousing Joanna's curiosity. Joanna diverted her attention to his face. Why are you pausing? Say it, Joanna ordered sternly. Had she known what crazy thoughts were going through Caden's mind, she wouldn't have dared to ask him to finish his words. Let's sleep together, Caden blurted out, to the shock of the girl, who jumped to her feet immediately. What? Joanna yelled with widened eyes. A/N. We have almost reached the end of the month, so kindly cast all the golden tickets you have to this book. That way you guys will get extra chapters to keep you smiling for a long time. Thank you as you do this. Chapter 74, Sleeping Together. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Seeing her react this way surprised Caden, but when his words replayed in his memory he understood why she reacted the way he did. Since she has taken that direction, why don't I take full advantage of it? As usual, it will be thrilling to tease her. Caden smirked devilishly as he stood up from where he sat. He went and stood beside her. I want to hold and feel you in my arms, Caden whispered erotically into her ears, making Joanna tremble. I want to feel your warmth and sniff your natural scent that is capable of driving. No, no. Never. Joanna shouted as she ran and stood far from him. Even though you are the king, I won't let sleep with you, never. Joanna yelled, instantly covering her chest with her hands crossed. Caden couldn't suppress the laughter anymore, so he burst out laughing hard. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. His laughter echoed in the forest. Joanna frowned, not understanding what part of her sentence was so funny to crack him up this way. Hey, silly girl. I was only asking you to sleep together on the same bed with me, so what were you thinking, huh? Caden burst out in a peal of deafening laughter yet again. Joanna felt like strangling herself when she learned that she misunderstood his definition of sleeping together. What exactly were you thinking, huh? Caden asked as he winked naughtily at the embarrassed lady. Did you think that I wanted you to have sex with me, Caden asked him as he went and stood very close to her. What? Joanna's head momentarily went black. Do you love me so much that you can't wait to bed me? Caden suppressed the laughter that was threatening to burst out. I also love you, and I don't mind bedding you too if that's what you want. Hey, what are you saying? Stay away from me, Joanna said. She took to her heels in embarrassment. Caden stood and watched her run away as fast as a cheetah. Hee hee. She is so adorable. And her cuteness is one of the reasons I can't resist teasing her. Caden's smile brightened. He walked to the hut too. When he got there, he met Joanna laying on the bed with her body covered from head to toe. He tried talking to her, but she didn't reply or react to what he said. Don't talk to me, Joanna said angrily without pulling off the blanket from her head. It's true that I want to sleep with you. I wasn't joking around when I said this, Caden said seriously. He stood up and walked to the bed where she lay. He sat on the bed. I won't lay a hand on you if you don't want me to, but why would you want to sleep here and share this tiny bed with me when you have a huge bed to yourself at the palace? Joanna asked as she slowly pulled the blanket off her head. Because I don't know when I am going to get the opportunity to get close to you like this again. And I don't want to lose this chance, Caden said, staring at her face lovingly. But, you are owing me a wish and I want to use my wish right now. So that means you are not allowed to say no, Caden said sternly. You want to use your wish for an opportunity to lay with me? Joanna asked in astonishment. She was hoping for him to ask for something difficult, but here he was asking for something trivial. You could have asked for something huge with the wish, so why did you ask for? Because sharing a bed with you is priceless, Caden replied with a smile. It's something I can't buy despite my riches, power and influence. Don't you agree with me that what I asked for is precious? Caden concluded. Joanna stared at him in silence. She has always thought that she knew Caden very well, but right this moment she realized that she was far from knowing him. You can sleep on the same bed with me, but I promise on my honor as the king that I won't go beyond any boundaries, and even though I wanted to, I promise that I will ask for your permission, Caden said. He quickly laid beside her on the bed. He wrapped his hands around her body, but only for Joanna to try to remove his hand from her body. Hey, why are you cuddling me? I might have let you sleep beside me, but you are not allowed to come so close to me, Joanna said. She still tried to free herself from him, but Caden wouldn't let go. Also, don't forget what you promised me. Indeed, I said I wouldn't have sex with you, but I never mentioned that I wouldn't hug you, Caden said shamelessly. You are cheating, and I might have said I won't touch you in that way, but I can't promise that I will reject you if you suddenly bounce on me because you could no longer control your desires. I am the one who should be saying that. You are full of mischief and I'm scared I might fall victim to your tricks, Joanna said as she struggled to stand up, but the strong Caden held her in place. Since I have given you my word, then you can trust me to keep it. And if peradventure you bounce on me in the middle of the night, don't worry, I will tie you up so you don't tempt me too, Caden whispered into her ears, making her body stiffen due to his hot breath that grazed her skin. You, stop talking and let's sleep or I will be forced to tease you the entire night. Caden's threats made Joanna keep quiet instantly. Caden fell asleep cuddling Joanna. Even when he fell asleep, his grip around her body didn't loosen. Joanna also drifted to sleep in his embrace. The next day Joanna was awakened by the chirping of birds and the ray of light that shone into the room through the window. She tried to sit up, but only to realize that Caden's grip around her body didn't loosen. Does he love me so much that even in his subconsciousness he doesn't want to let go of me? Joanna stared at his face. She couldn't help but find him even more handsome asleep. She kept on gazing at his face. She was tempted to touch his flawless face, which hadn't sustained a scratch. Even though he did sustain an injury, his wound will always close up since he is a vampire. Although he can be quite a handful, I have to admit that he is not that bad, Joanna said smiling. She raised her hand and touched his sexy natural pink lips. Wow, they are so soft, even softer than the pillows, Joanna smiled. For a moment she forgot that she was playing with the shameless Caden's lips and not a log of wood. If I am not that bad, then why do you keep rejecting me? Caden said as he opened his eyes to stare at the awestruck lady. Joanna tried to remove her hand from his lips, but the cunning Caden grabbed her hand. He pulled her so close that Joanna could feel his warm breath on her face. He grabbed her waist with his left hand, making sure that there was no escape route for her. A/N. This week is just starting and I want to remind you about our weekly and monthly goals. Weekly goal. For every 50 power stones we get, there will be extra 2 chapters given every week. Monthly goal. For every 50 golden tickets we get, there will be 3 extra chapters. I promise I will do my own part of the game by updating daily, and now it is left for you guys to do your part. So please, let's work hard to achieve this goal together. Remember, you are not in this alone. You have me, your lovely author here. Chapter 75. He gave her the gifts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, Kay, let go right now, Joanna said as she tried to climb down from his body. I am helping you to take a closer look at me at the perfect angle. Who knows, you might change your mind about me if you get a perfect picture of my face, Caden said, not attempting to let go of her. I have viewed you from all angles and I don't see any difference, so I don't think there's any need. Take a closer look. You might have missed something, Caden said. He turned his face to the left and then to the right to give her a perfect view of all sides of his face. Don't be hasty with your decision so you don't regret missing such a perfect husband. Cut out with it already, Joanna said. Caden was stunned to see that she was able to free herself despite the amount of strength he applied. With the amount of strength he applied, no normal human would have been able to break free from his hold no matter how hard they tried. That Joanna was able to break free from his grip further proved his assumptions of her powers right. His surprise vanished in the same manner it came. He didn't let her climb out of the bed before he pulled her onto himself. He rolled her over and took position on top of her. "Kay, what do you think you are doing, huh?" Joanna asked, seeing the ambiguous state they were in. "Don't forget what you promised me. You said you wouldn't lay a hand on me. My promise was only valid for the night and unfortunately this is morning." "That means it doesn't count," Caden said with his husky tone. He lowered his head and tried to kiss her, but Joanna shifted her head to the right to avoid his kiss. He blew a hot breath at her bare skin. He could feel her body stiffen as a result of his actions. "If you are too shy to take the lead, then I don't mind doing it. Anyways, the one who takes the lead doesn't matter, but what is important is that we both enjoy ourselves," Caden said flirtatiously. He pretended as though he wanted to unbutton the gray shirt she wore. "He has always been taking advantage of me at every given hour. Since he wants to play, why don't I beat him to his game?" Joanna grinned evilly as she stared at the guy who was oblivious of the wicked plans she was having about him. "Taking a second look at you, I admit that you are not bad at all," Joanna said. She raised her hand and caressed his face, taking Caden by surprise with her sudden boldness. "You are tall, handsome, rich and undoubtedly the most powerful man in the kingdom. What more could any woman look for in a partner?" Joanna said as she stroked his eyebrows passionately. Caden stared at her like he was looking at a stranger. What has suddenly come over her? Have I provoked her too sexually, which is why she suddenly developed an outburst of emotions? Caden stared at her as she linked her lips flirtatiously. He looked away when the mere looking of her lips made him feel aroused. "Look at these long eyelashes, these enticing pair of eyes, this well-sculpted nose and oh, these sexy lips." Joanna touched every part of his face that she mentioned. "There was a god in front of me all this while and I didn't notice. I must have been out of mind to reject such a heavenly being," Joanna said. Seeing that he was distracted, she quickly toppled him over so that he was lying underneath while she stayed at the top. "What? Shush, today it's my turn to make you happy and I promise that I won't disappoint you." Joanna placed her index finger on his lips to stop him from talking. Not long afterwards she started unbuttoning his shirt. She was about to undo the last button when Caden grabbed her hands. She raised an eyebrow. "Isn't this what you always wanted, so why are you stopping me? Did you suddenly grow tired of playing or am I doing it the wrong way?" Joanna asked the guy who was staring at her. I wasn't planning to do anything to you in the first place. I only wanted to show you that what you can do I can also do it and even better," Joanna said as she climbed down from him. "Does that mean you have no ounce of feelings for me? Stop talking and get dressed or I will be forced to strip you and confiscate your clothes." "Don't do that, okay?" Caden sat up from where he lay. "Although I don't mind being embarrassed in front of you since you will be my wife in the future, that is not the same. I haven't accepted your proposal, so what wife are you talking about, huh?" Joanna asked immediately, standing up from the bed. She turned her back on him so that he would not see her blushed face. "Not right now, but in the future. I am confident of making you love me back," Caden said seriously. He stood up from the bed and carried the gift box laying on the table. "And that is why I will entrust you with these gifts. It is yours and it will forever be yours since to me, you will always remain my only queen," Caden said as he extended the gifts to her. But, Caden didn't let her say anything. He shoved the gift box into her hands. "It was my birthday gift to you and you had already accepted it but entrusted it to that day to hold it up until the end of the party," Caden trailed with a smile. "The day of returning the gift has been long overdue, so it is only right that I return it today," Caden said. He buttoned up his shirt. "I will hand over the gift to our kids in the future as an heirloom, so don't worry about holding onto it forever." Caden shamelessly completed the words for her despite knowing that wasn't what she wanted to say. Are you upset that I will be leaving soon?" Caden asked. He resisted the urge to laugh when he saw her bite her lower lips hard. "How about we shower in the river together? That way we will spend more time. Do you believe that I will forget your title as the king and gag your mouth right now?" Joanna threatened fiercely. She and Caden continued talking until it was time for him to leave. For the remaining days until the party, Caden continued dropping by at the forest to keep her company. On the night of the party in his full regalia, he came to the forest not only to pick her up but to deliver what she asked of him. Joanna stared at the dress spread on the bed with mixed feelings. The white butterfly dress made her recall the most horrifying night of her life. In this dress, she received the happiness and respect she has never received all her life. Also in this same dress, she was buttered and pushed to her death. Now that I have this dress and accessories, I guess it is my time to surprise everyone, Joanna said. The sadness in her eyes was long gone. Aren't you gonna tell me what are your plans until the very end? Caden asked curiously, his gaze focused on the lady who had applied makeup on her face. In an hour or so it will be showtime, so long forward to it. Joanna's evil grin made her look like the daredevil. Chapter 76 At the party you are listening at novelfull.audio. Although I don't know your plans in detail, I can already imagine the shocked expressions everyone will have at merely seeing you. Yeah, it will be fun to reveal myself normally, but don't you think it will be 1,000 times better if I make it dramatic? Joanna smirked. There was pure evil in her eyes as she spoke, but Caden didn't mind it. I will be your audience then. I will join you in enjoying seeing everyone go insane, Caden smiled back at her. Because she was afraid of getting the dress torn, Joanna didn't wear the dress in the hut. They reached outside and Caden went as far as trying to open the door of the car for her, but Joanna stopped him. I won't be going with you, Joanna said firmly. What? Caden, who didn't see this coming, was caught off guard by her words. But why? He asked after calming down a little. Because there will be a great disaster in the kingdom if it is later discovered that you knew that I was alive all along but acted deviant about the ghost issue, Joanna said seriously. They will hate your guts if such facts are later proved, and I don't want this to happen. I want your subjects to hate you less, but I don't care, Caden said sternly. You may not, but I do, so let's go our separate ways from here, Joanna said. She looked so cool saying these words. How are you gonna get there? The distance from the Royal Palace Hotel is far from here, Caden said unhappily. His fallen expression showed that if he were to have his way he wouldn't let her get her way with this particular request. How could he feel at ease after leaving her here? There is no need to make that expression because I can manage just fine. I have got this. Joanna smiled at him to show that she was fine. It took her a lot of coaxing to get Caden to leave her there. Although I have almost made use of all my teleportation devices, I won't implicate you or your reign since you have been nothing but very good to me, Joanna muttered as she focused her attention on the direction Caden's car took. Joanna started walking on the dark pathway. She didn't walk up to 10 steps before she vanished into space. Some minutes later, in front of the popular Royal Palace Hotel, cars of different models trooped into the building. On the red carpet, ladies and men of the upper class displayed the weight of their wealth through their expensive dresses, shoes, jewels and other accessories. No one felt out of place except the few lower-class people who were privileged to attend the party because their king was benevolent enough to invite them too. The reporters had thought they had seen it all until the mean witches stepped on the red carpet. They took the party by storm with their gorgeous dresses and super expensive jewelry. With the glamorous dressing, one would mistake them for angels, not knowing that they were the real demons. They were stopped on the red carpet by the reporters. Out of the 4 girls, Tiffany was the reporter's main focus. Is it true that you and His Majesty are in love? How far have you gone in your relationship with him? It's said that he is making plans to make you the queen. Is that information reliable? How does it feel to be the king's woman? A word please, Miss Noel. The reporters bombarded Tiffany with tons of questions. Almost all the reporters were interested in confirming her relationship with the king. Although Tiffany pretends to be annoyed, the truth was that she was overjoyed merely hearing their questions. His Majesty and I have been friends ever since childhood. I am only but a woman, so it's only right he announces such an important topic. This was Tiffany's reply to the reporters before she and her friends walked into the huge building. The first person Tiffany searched for was Caden after she entered the hall. She searched for him in the entire hall but in the end, didn't get a glimpse of him or his shadow. About an hour after their arrival the Queen Mother graced everyone with her presence. Socialites trooped out to welcome her and in the process maybe get her attention. The unhappy Tiffany was sitting in her friend's company chatting when Tracy walked up to her. "Hello Miss Noel," Tracy greeted politely, not paying respect to the other girls. Tiffany shifted her attention to the lady standing by her side. "The Queen Mother wants you at her table," Tracy passed the instructions she was asked to relay. "Okay, tell her I will be there in a minute," Tiffany replied. Watching Tracy walk away without greeting them until the last minute made the other girls furious. "Who the hell does she think she is to ignore us?" Sophie asked as she glared at Tracy's departing figure. "So what if she is the Queen Mother's right-hand woman? She is nothing but a common maid, so how dare a mere servant treat us like dirt?" Doris said with clasped fists. "Like you said, she is nothing but a mere maid, so she is not worth you girls losing your temper for," Tiffany said as she stood up gracefully from where she sat. As usual, out of all the dresses at the party, hers stood out most. "But she needs to be taught a lesson. If you want to deal with her I won't stop you guys, but don't forget that all the elders from our various homes are present at the party," Tiffany said as she took a quick look in the direction her father and grandfather sat. Before even the day of the party, they had both warned her against causing trouble at the party. There will be dire consequences if she dares provoke her father and grandfather. "Don't forget that death awaits you if you dare provoke not only them but also the Queen Mother," Tiffany gave them a piece of advice. "If you still want to deal with her after tonight then you girls can wait until I become the queen. By then dealing with the likes of Tracy will be a piece of cake," Tiffany said, smirking devilishly. A figure emerged from the group. Her chuckle caught the attention of the already angry girls. "Is your brain made of nothing but water?" Audrey laughed once again. "Because I am sure you wouldn't have just spewed that nonsense you did if you possessed the normal brains people do. Do you have a death wish too?" Sophie snapped angrily. She stood up from where she sat. "If you have a death wish then I don't mind granting you that wish so that you will go and reunite with that stupid dead friend of yours." The prideful look on Sophie's face while uttering these words made Audrey clench her fists. She was certain that she wouldn't let go of the haughty girl if she didn't break every goddamn bone in her body. Audrey walked closer to Sophie's seat and stood facing her eyeballs to eyeballs. "If you are so confident of your powers you can give it a try," Audrey said, looking into Sophie's fury eyes. "Let's see between you and me who will end up dying," Audrey said coldly. Not only was her voice cold but also her expression. "Since you are so eager to kill me, how about we hold another match here and keep everyone entertained? What do you say?" Audrey challenged provocatively. A/N. This week is just starting and I want to remind you about our weekly and monthly goals. Weekly goal. For every 50 power stones we get there will be extra 2 chapters given every week. Monthly goal. For every 50 golden tickets we get there will be 3 extra chapters. I promise I will do my own part of the game by updating daily, and now it is left for you guys to do your part. So please let's work hard to achieve this goal together. Remember, you are not in this alone. You have me, your lovely author here. Chapter 77 Lights Out. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Memories of 3 months ago popped into Sophie's memory. That day she was very angry that Audrey challenged them in front of so many people in the university, so out of rage she challenged Audrey to a fight. She was so confident about her powers and her chances of winning until she stepped into the school's fighting arena. Right now she doesn't even want to think of what happened to her after the fight started. She is nothing but a frustrated soul who goes about looking for who to frustrate, so let her be. Because nothing good will come out of reasoning with a lunatic, Tiffany said, signaling Sophie to sit since people were looking at their table. And this lunatic here is gonna make sure you don't get married to the king, not to mention smelling the crown of the queen, so I will advise you to stop daydreaming, Audrey said, smiling. Her smile and words annoyed Tiffany to the bones, and normally she would have attacked Audrey right there, but because people were looking she had to suppress her anger. I would rather marry the king than letting someone like you get married to him. I have told you this so many times. You can keep on ranting, but I won't keep you company. I have better things to do than stand here listening to the words of a lunatic, Tiffany said sternly. She turned and strolled away. While walking, I will advise that you watch your back because you don't know in which direction you are going to get knocked dead, Doris threatened sternly but in low tones. Isn't that supposed to be my line? I mean, for heaven's sake, you guys are the murderers and not me. Be careful when you walk because you don't know in what direction karma is gonna hit you, Audrey said unyieldingly. She walked away after successfully getting the girls more enraged. If she is not careful, I swear I am gonna bury at least 5 bullets into her head, Sophie said with clenched teeth. At tonight's party, the Queen Mother didn't fail to show everyone that the chosen one was Tiffany. She achieved this great feat by embracing Tiffany, something she is known never to have done before. As if that wasn't enough, she offered Tiffany a seat at the royal table. What do you think about getting the Queen's crown as compensation for the way my son has been treating you all these years? Queen Mother asked as she held Tiffany's hands and caressed them lovingly. What? Tiffany could not hide her excitement and shock on the hearing of the Queen Mother's proposal. Never in her wildest imagination had she thought that the Queen Mother would make such a proposal in the presence of so many people. Does your expression say that you are about to decline my offer? Queen Mother Teresa asked as though she wasn't aware of the reason Tiffany was speechless. Of course not, Your Highness. I would love that, Tiffany replied with a broad smile. That is good. Don't worry, with me around, never will you suffer any injustice as my daughter. In law, Queen Mother Teresa said smiling. They were still talking when Caden made an appearance. To accord the respect due to him, everyone stood on their feet to receive him. Tiffany stood up and walked to where he was standing. Your Majesty, welcome, Tiffany greeted with a broad smile. Happy 4th anniversary as the King of Twipora Kingdom. Our greatest blessing as your subject is having such a wonderful man like you as the king. Tiffany showered him with compliments, thinking that she would win his admiration. What she didn't know was that she was expecting the impossible from the wrong person. Although she spoke so eloquently, Caden acted like she didn't exist. It was as if she was talking to a piece of rock. Let me walk you to your seat. Tiffany took the initiative to hold his hand. This action of hers earned murderous glares from Caden. Touch not, because my woman might get mad at me for letting just any random woman touch me, Caden said, dropping the bomb carefreely. Everyone was shocked by his words and how he treated Tiffany. Apart from Tiffany's family, the Queen Mother was another person who got enraged by Caden's words. Your Majesty, Caden only needed to glare at his mother to get her to shut her mouth tight. As if that wasn't enough humiliation for the day, Tiffany got stopped by the king when she tried to sit on the empty seat at the royal table. That seat has always been reserved for the queen, and as far as I can remember, I don't remember crowning anyone as queen, not to mention you. Caden's words were rude and direct. He was never the type to hide his hard feelings for someone, and recalling what Tiffany and her group did to Joanna made him feel immense hatred for them. But, do you want me to repeat myself? Caden threw a murderous glance at the lady who wanted to make known her displeasure. You can keep staying if you can handle the consequences of provoking the king. Caden's threats made Tiffany leave the royal table like a loyal lamb. While sitting at the royal table, Caden got bored despite the fun activities that were going on in the hall. 30 more minutes passed and yet Joanna didn't make an appearance like she had promised Caden. What on earth is keeping her? Caden's forehead creased into a frown as he checked his wristwatch for God knows how many times. Don't tell me she got cold feet at the last minute and changed her mind about her plan. Caden got a little worried when time continued ticking and he couldn't spot Joanna in the hall, nor could he perceive her scent. He was just about to stand up and go in search of her when the lights went off. I believe this is her cue, Caden grinned wickedly, not looking surprised like others who had no idea of what was going on. Even the MC of the party was awestruck since this wasn't a part of their plans. What the hell is wrong with the lights? Go and find out what's the problem. From where he sat, Caden, using his powers, overheard someone passing an order to another person. Everyone was still wondering what was going on when creepy music that could only be found in horror movies began playing. What on earth is going on here? Everyone talked at once, and then suddenly a ray of lights appeared on the upper side of the right wall. An invisible hand started scribbling something on the wall. Why did you all hate me so much? What wrong have I ever committed against you, that you had to push me to my death on my birthday? Now that my soul can't rest, who among you should I take with me to keep me company in the netherworld? Everyone trembled on reading the text on the wall. None needed to say anything for everyone to know what was going on. It's her ghost, everyone cried out in fear. Those who previously sat close to the right wall stood up and searched for shelter elsewhere. She is here for revenge. She is gonna kill us all, came their cries again when creeping laughter filled the room. People were trying to run out of the hall for dear life when suddenly the clanking of loud heels filled the room. The sound was so loud that everyone present in the hall heard it. Everyone was looking for where the noise came from when a spotlight appeared on the staircase. A very important announcement. Happy New Month. First of all, I would like to apologize to regular readers for not updating chapters for the past 3 days. Sorry, I couldn't meet up with the daily updates for you guys, it's just that I was trying to set up the privileged chapters, that is why. As you know, it's a new month and as usual time for new goals. Goals for July 2022. Goal 1. Reach 1000, 1K, privileged chapter unlocked to get 5 extra chapters the following month. To reach this particular goal, you guys have to buy the privileged chapters, and not just buy them but make sure to unlock the chapters daily. Please support my work by buying the privileged chapters and unlocking the chapters daily, because this is the only way the privileged chapter unlock will count. Apart from the 5 chapters mass release, those who buy privileged chapters will stand a chance to win a coin code worth 100 coins the next month. Isn't this amazing? Goal 2. Every 50 golden tickets we get this month guarantees you guys 3 extra chapters. That is to say that if we receive 200 golden tickets this July 2022, you guys stand a chance of getting extra 9 chapters. The daily updates are not included. Isn't this such a fantastic bargain? Goal 3. For every 100 power stones this book receives each week, 3 extra chapters will be uploaded the next week as a reward for the goal. This is to say that if we get 200 power stones this week, in the following week I will give 6 chapters mass release without the inclusion of the daily 2 chapters. Please let's try hard to complete the goals. I strongly believe we can do this, don't you agree with me on this? Chapter 78. Joanna's Showtime. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They were still staring at the stairs, and a long sexy leg wearing white glittering high heels became visible. Just then the memory of 6 months ago flashed into everyone's head. They recalled that these were the same shoes and even the same manner she appeared back then. She is here. She is here to kill us all. Nora's scream of terror added even more fear to the mind of the guests, who were already scared out of their wits. Everyone in the hall shivered, hugging tightly whatever they had in their hands. There were only 2 people in the large hall who were not the least affected by what was happening. And these 2 people were none other than Caden, the accomplice, and Audrey, the one who has been dying to meet Joanna again even though it was her ghost. Is that really you, Anna? Audrey muttered. Instead of running toward the exit like the others, she walked towards the stairs. Joanna walked gracefully down the stairs. Although her expression was stern, she was having a blast seeing everyone in the hall shake to their bones. If they had treated her like a human and given her a little bit of love. If they had not made her the thing of ridicule. Maybe, just maybe they had not trampled on her pride including her life, she wouldn't have gone to the extreme. The moment she revealed her face, all the limelight centered on her and everyone's scream grew louder. They went even crazier than they have been. Caden, who was enjoying the show, couldn't resist laughing, especially when he saw his mother grabbing the terrified Tracy and using the maid to shield herself. "This is 1,000 times more thrilling than I had imagined. She didn't let me down." Caden smiled at the lady who had changed her previous makeup to a scary one. Her skin, including her face, looked unbelievably pale. She didn't resemble the lady he had been spending the night with, but she looked so pale, like a real ghost. He could not help but wonder how she managed to pull off this horror movie vibe. Joanna paused at the foot of the stairs and the lights in the room came on. She took time in staring at the faces of everyone in the hall. Looking at their faces, she could recall every way each one of them had wronged her. If anyone should be blamed for the heartless girl she has become, then each one of them was guilty of it. Joanna could not help smiling when her gaze landed on Caden. She could see how the naughty guy was trying his best to suppress his laughter. Everyone was too busy fearing for their life to see just how much fun the king was having watching them suffer. "I originally wanted to wrap up my ghost game with this much performance. But why do I strangely want to see him laugh even more?" Joanna stared at the silently laughing guy who was secretly giving her a thumbs up. "Since he looks even more thrilled than me, why don't I keep him even more entertained? I mean, there is nothing wrong in doing this, right?" It was as if Bacon could read Joanna's mind, because immediately after she finished thinking he began flying around the hall. "Let's finish this one and for all." Joanna started walking towards the corner everyone had sandwiched themselves. The creepy music and screams in the background became louder as she approached where they all stood. "It feels so dark and lonely down there. Which one of you wants to keep me company?" Joanna said as she stretched her hand and tried to grab someone. She felt like laughing when she saw all of them run backwards, trampling on each other. "Will you keep me company?" Joanna asked as she tried to grab Sophie, causing the already horrified Sophie to freak out even more. "Get behind me, ghost!" Sophie shouted, beating the air as she ran backwards. "No one will keep me company. Why? Why did you kill me if none of you is willing to accompany me in that dark place?" Joanna shouted. Her voice echoed in the large hall repeatedly. The lights started blinking, making everywhere creepier. "Since you won't come to me, then I will make my choice," Joanna said coldly. She walked over to Laura and grabbed her by the hand. "Mom, I don't want to die, please save me," Laura shouted as she struggled to free herself from Joanna's grip. They were all too scared to reason that if Joanna was a ghost, she wouldn't have been able to grab Laura. "Save me, Mom," Laura pleaded as she kept on struggling. Warm tears fell from her eyes as she screamed for help, but none came to her rescue. Joanna hauled Laura to the floor after they had climbed the stage. Immediately after she was released, Laura, who was desperate to survive, went on her knees and pleaded. "I know I was wrong in treating you badly in the past, but please don't kill me. Think of the fact that we were once siblings and let me live," Laura pleaded as she repeatedly rubbed both of her palms. "Ha ha ha." Joanna burst out in a peal of deafening laughter. She laughed so hard that everyone wondered what was so funny that made the ghost laugh the way she did. "Ha ha ha, this is so goddamn funny. My stomach hurts, but surprisingly I can't seem to stop myself from laughing," Joanna said amid her hysterical laughter. "Should I be grateful to you, Laura, or the others for putting a smile on my face after such a long time?" Joanna got everyone confused with the way she was talking. Although she was talking like a normal person, the fear in the heart of everyone was still immense. They dare not leave their spot for fear of falling victim to the vengeful ghost. "It's so hilarious to see you all treating me like a ghost when I am very much alive." "Ha ha ha," Joanna laughed as she stared at their faces once again. Judging from their expression, she knew that they didn't believe her, and she can't blame them for this. The ancient forest of no return, just like the name says, is a place where no one returns either alive or dead after setting foot into it. Even powerful warriors of both the werewolf and vampire race never come back after stepping foot into the dreaded forest, so who on earth would believe that a weak girl like her would make it out there alive? "Anna, are you really alive?" Audrey, standing in front of the stage, asked as she stared at the girl whose scary makeup had disappeared. Is that you? Audrey asked once again. Some seconds later she was seen standing on the stage staring at Joanna from up close. Out of everyone there, she was the only one daring enough to voluntarily go close to Joanna. You are not dead, Audrey asked as she took slow steps towards Joanna. Memories of the night of Joanna's 18th birthday flashed before her eyes. Recalling that day caused a stir in Audrey's emotions. Tears bubbled in her eyes as she stared at her best friend's face. Joanna shook her head affirmatively. She paid no attention to Laura, who was still shivering close to the podium. I am very much alive, Joanna said as she smiled at Audrey. Her eyes became misty for some reason. When she was close enough, Audrey threw reasoning out of the window and ran into Joanna's embrace. Her tears flowed even more after confirming that the one standing there was really her best friend and not her ghost like people think. A/N, happy end of the month, lovely readers. I am here to get your mind prepared for the goals of the new month we will enter in a few hours. And also to let you know about our privileged chapters. For the privileged chapters you will get the chance to read 20 chapters in advance, isn't that great? Chapter 79. Hello stepmother, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone only calmed down a little after realizing that Audrey didn't vanish after hugging Joanna. Thank you for coming back alive and well. Audrey hugged Joanna tighter, refusing to let go. Does this mean she deliberately scared us even though she was alive all along? Tiffany asked as she glared at the two friends having their little reunion on the stage. If she had the guts to do that to everyone despite that she is not dead, then she is a psychopath. Nora shuddered at the remembrance of the hell they have gone through ever since they encountered the ghost at the villa. Because of this same ghost, their friendship suffered a major setback. Their girl group would have stopped to exist had they not done their best to make Sophie and Doris resolve their misunderstanding. So what if she is alive and pulled such a major prank on us? Doris scoffed. Some minutes ago she wasn't able to say a word because of fear, but after realizing that Joanna was no ghost she had suddenly regained her confidence. I can't perceive a werewolf scent on her, so that means her miraculously coming back to life is of no use. She will forever remain our sidekick. That is her fate, Doris said proudly. Her speech earned applause from her friends. That's right. And just like in the past we are gonna show her where she rightfully belongs, which is underneath our feet. Tiffany completed the words for Sophie. Everyone was astounded when they saw the king stand up from his seat and approach the stage. When he reached the stage he maintained a miserable look. Although he looked miserable, to Joanna, his expression looked funny. She almost burst out laughing, forgetting where they were currently at. He went and embraced her to the further surprise of people who didn't expect such a thing from the king. It's so great to have you back, Caden said, hugging her tightly. A light hug would have been enough, so why are you taking advantage of the situation? Joanna whispered enough for only him to hear. You are very good at acting, aren't you an expert at that? Caden asked, not letting go of her. People staring at them could only see their moving lips but couldn't hear what they were saying. Even vampires who have an incredible hearing ability for some unknown reason couldn't hear their discussion too. It was as if someone had deliberately sealed their conversation, making it impossible for them to hear. I almost stood up and awarded you with the world's best actress of the century, Caden said. He so much wanted to hug her for a long time, but when he recalled that they were still at the party, he deemed it improper for him to do that. So he slowly let go of her. Although they were in the presence of so many people, Audrey could not mask her hatred for the king. She glared at him with her fists clasped to suppress her anger. As I said earlier, I am alive and well, so there is no need to be afraid of me anymore, Joanna said, smiling before she climbed down the stage with Caden and Audrey both accompanying her. The embarrassed Laura climbed off the stage with her head lowered. Join us at my table, Caden said seriously, not sounding like his usual playful self that Joanna was used to. This was the reality of their relationship. He was the king and while she was his subject. No matter how close they are, he was way above her in status. Sorry, but I will have to turn down your offer, Your Majesty, Joanna replied respectfully as she held Audrey's hand. But you, Caden stopped what he wanted to say when he saw that there were too many prying eyes. If you can't join my table, then I will join you both on your table, Caden suggested, to the annoyance of Audrey, whose glares turned deadlier on hearing Caden's suggestions. Although I managed to survive, I have no plans of dying for the second time, and I wish that His Majesty will not make things difficult for me, Joanna said. She waited for Caden to permit them to go since they couldn't walk out on him. The moment he excused them, Audrey led the way to her table. I want to greet someone first. You may go and sit first if it's okay, Audrey said, not wanting Joanna to leave her side for even a second. Joanna went to where her family was sitting. The only one who was absent there was Anthony. After greeting her father, Joanna shifted her attention to her stepmother, who was on her feet. There was fear in her eyes as she stared at Joanna. Actually, it would have been very weird if she had remained normal after the hell Joanna's ghost put her and her daughter through for the past few days. Hello, stepmother, Joanna greeted with a smile. She stretched her hand to touch at Hera, but out of reflexes and fear she shrank backwards. You and Laura must have been terrified these past days, right? Joanna asked, pretending to care about their well-being. Actually, I tried telling you both that I wasn't dead, but the two of you always go crazy on seeing me. I had no choice but to play along, Joanna trailed. She stared at Laura, who couldn't even stare her in the eye. She suddenly extends her hand and grabs Laura's hands lying on the table. Laura freaked out. She reacted by shouting manically. You and stepmother are not gonna blame me for what happened, right? Joanna asked, resisting the desire to smile. Laura mumbled while shaking her head. It was so obvious she wanted Joanna to leave there as fast as possible. If you say so, then I am very relieved, Joanna said, letting go of Laura's hands. I will leave you all to enjoy your party. We will talk again when we get home. Hera yelled, fear visible in her eyes. What home are you talking about? A very important announcement. Happy new month. First of all, I would like to apologize to regular readers for not updating chapters for the past 3 days. Sorry, I couldn't meet up with the daily updates for you guys, it's just that I was trying to set up the privileged chapters, that is why. As you know, it's a new month and as usual time for new goals. Goals for July 2022. Goal 1. Reach 1000, 1K, privileged chapter unlocked to get 5 extra chapters the following month. To reach this particular goal, you guys have to buy the privileged chapters, and not just buy them, but make sure to unlock the chapters daily. Please support my work by buying the privileged chapters and unlocking the chapters daily, because this is the only way the privileged chapter unlock will count. Apart from the 5 chapters mass release, those who buy privileged chapters will stand a chance to win a coin code worth 100 coins the next month. Isn't this amazing? Goal 2. Every 50 golden tickets we get this month guarantees you guys 3 extra chapters. That is to say that if we receive 200 golden tickets this July 2022, you guys stand a chance of getting extra 9 chapters. The daily updates are not included. Isn't this such a fantastic bargain? Goal 3. For every 100 power stones this book receives each week, 3 extra chapters will be uploaded the next week as a reward for the goal. This is to say that if we get 200 power stones this week, in the following week I will give 6 chapters mass release without the inclusion of the daily 2 chapters. Please, let's try hard to complete the goals. I strongly believe we can do this, don't you agree with me on this? Chapter 80. Did you say something? You are listening at novelfull.audio. What home could I be possibly referring to if not our home? Joanna asked, sounding irritated. You have no place, come back home after the party. Your little brother has been missing you ever since you disappeared, Mr. Anderson said. His neutral expression while saying this infuriated Joanna. For the 1001 time, she wondered if this man she has knew all her life was really her father or some stranger. "Sorry, but Anna is gonna spend the night with me today," Audrey said, not giving Joanna the chance to speak. Instead of letting Joanna sleep in a house full of her enemies, she would rather she spend the night over at her place. Besides, she has missed Joanna way too much to send her to that hellhole on the night of her return. Since none of them objected or agreed to what Audrey said, the two friends went to their table. Not long after they sat down, Caden gave a speech. His speech wasn't long nor was it boring. Everyone applauded after he finished giving his speech. Joanna was surprised when she saw Chris come to stand beside her after Caden had concluded his speech and was applauded. "To celebrate my wife's return," Caden paused when he realized what he had said. "To celebrate Miss Joanna Anderson, my mate's safe return, I would like to propose a toast to her," Caden said. Caden only needed to say this much to get everyone's gossipy side wild. "Let's invite Miss Joanna to the stage as we do this," Caden said as he stared at where Joanna's seat was located. "This way, miss," Chris said politely. It was when he did this that Joanna understood the reason Chris was standing there. Joanna stood up and followed Chris' lead. "What the hell is wrong with the king?" Doris asked angrily when she saw how Joanna was escorted like a queen. "Has he drank so much wine? That is why he is getting delusional. That is not a proper way to talk about the king, so watch your mouth, because not even I would be able to save you if others overheard your words," Tiffany said coldly. Although she looked so unaffected, the truth was that she was very angry, just like her friends. The way she was clutching her dress was evidence of just how hard she tried to suppress her anger. "Sophie's words are very correct, because how on earth would he treat her this way if he wasn't delusional?" Doris supported firmly. "You are the future queen and everyone knows that, so how could he call her his wife in front of? She is nothing but a low-life girl. She isn't only the daughter of a mistress but a weak good-for-nothing. Do you think that the king would choose her over me?" Tiffany asked pridefully. She turned and glared at Joanna, now standing on the stage with the king. "Besides, she was once his mate, so I am sure His Majesty is merely doing this to save her face." Tiffany tried so hard to look for every way possible to justify Caden's behavior. Nora nodded her head affirmatively. "You are right about that. From the beginning His Majesty wasn't known to be a heartless person, so his actions are understandable," Nora agreed with a nod. "To safe return and a happy reunion, cheers." Caden raised his glass of wine in the air. Others followed suit even though they were not happy to do this. "Welcome back," Caden said as he clicked glasses with Joanna. Joanna smiled at him and took a sip from the wine without uttering a word to him. Seeing that the king was going to climb down from the stage soon, Tiffany hurried to her family's table. "Grandpa, please do something about this," Tiffany pleaded. "Even though you didn't ask me to intervene, I would have done it. Do you know why?" Tiffany's grandpa, a man who looks like he was in his late 40s when he was over 150 years old, asked, staring at his granddaughter. "Because the last thing I will ever do in my life is let anyone disgrace our family and go scot-free. It doesn't matter whether that person is the king, the prime minister," Tiffany's grandpa said fiercely. He stood up from where he sat and approached Caden's direction. Reaching where the king was walking, he obstructed his path. "What do you think you are trying to do?" Chris asked angrily, not able to tolerate the man's insolence. "See how my grandpa will put that low-life girl in her place. Let's see whether His Majesty will still save her face after Grandpa intervened." Tiffany's smile broadened on seeing that her grandpa was about to take action. "I want to have a word with His Majesty. Do you have a problem with that?" the Prime Minister snapped rudely. "This is no way to approach the king. Since he said he has something to say, then let him be. He is a prominent minister and I can see whatever he wants to say is urgent." Caden stopped Chris from causing a scene over the issue. Chris was still very angry with the elderly man. If not that it was the king who intervened, he wouldn't have let the senile old man have his way. It's a known fact that the sham seer prophesied Anderson's bastard child to be your mate, but it's also a well-known fact that you cancelled her title as your mate after she died. Did you say something?" Caden asked coldly as he glared at the man standing in front of him. Joanna standing beside Caden pretended like she didn't hear what the old man said. She was certain that she would end up ripping off the man's foul mouth if she decided to intervene. Although I couldn't hear what you said because I was a bit absent-minded while staring at your grandson, Caden trailed as his murderous glares centered on the man. He smiled when he saw the Prime Minister trembled at the mention of the word his grandson. I will advise that you filter your words carefully. As you are aware, I tend to get into a bad mood lately and I can't fathom what I will do if that happens here. I am sure you understand the point I am trying to make, right? Caden asked. Yes. Yes, Your Majesty, the Prime Minister, Mr. Martinez stammered, not able to keep his composure. So what were you trying to tell me again? Caden asked sternly. A/N. Please continue to support the book with gifts, golden tickets, power stones, comments and reviews. Also, don't forget our goals for the month because these goals will guarantee whether or not you guys will get all the extra chapters as a reward. Also, for those who don't have money to buy the highest tier of privileged chapters, you can buy the affordable ones because this is the reason I shared the tiers into 5. I wanted every one of my readers to be able to afford it, so please support this poor author by buying the privileged chapters and unlocking the chapters daily. If you want to stand a chance to win 100 code coins next month, your only ticket to getting the code is by buying privileged chapters, so what are you waiting for? I believe we can achieve the goals, so you guys need to believe in yourselves too. Fighting.